The first thing anyone noticed was the sound, an abrupt thud that cut through the steady hum of keyboards and printers. For a split second, the office froze, unsure whether to keep working or look up. Then someone screamed her name. Lena had been standing by the copier, a stack of neatly arranged reports pressed to her chest, when the world went dark. One moment she was counting pages, the next her knees gave way, and she collapsed onto the cold tile floor. Papers scattered like startled birds. The woman who had arrived before dawn for years, who left long after sunset without complaint, lay unconscious while the office stared in stunned silence. For a long time, Lena had worked in a way that made her almost invisible. She spoke softly, moved quickly, and never complained, even when deadlines were unreasonable or when credit for her work quietly drifted towards someone else. She was the kind of employee managers loved and coworkers underestimated. Reliable, tireless, forgettable. Her boss, Mr. Harrington, was in a meeting when it happened. A senior manager with graying hair and a reputation for being distant, he believed in numbers, efficiency, and results. He knew Lena as a name on spreadsheets and a face he passed in the hallway, always with her head slightly bowed, always carrying something for someone else. He didn't know she skipped lunches to finish reports. He didn't know she sent money home to help her parents after her father's illness. He didn't know she slept barely 5 hours a night. By the time Mr. Harrington rushed out of the conference room, Lena was being lifted onto a stretcher. Her face was pale, lips tinged blue, dark circles like bruises beneath her eyes. For a brief, uncomfortable moment, he felt something unfamiliar tighten in his chest. At the hospital, doctors said it was exhaustion. Severe fatigue, dehydration, stress piled upon stress until her body simply refused to continue. She's lucky, the doctor said, not unkindly. Many people ignore the signs longer. When Lena woke, the room was quiet except for the steady beep of a monitor. Confusion washed over her, followed by embarrassment as memories rushed back. She tried to sit up, apologizing automatically, as if collapsing had been an inconvenience she needed to make up for. "You don't need to apologize," a voice said. She turned her head and froze. Mr. Harrington stood near the window, hands clasped behind his back, his expression unreadable. She hadn't expected him. In fact, she had hoped he wouldn't come. "I'm sorry," she said anyway. "I'll make up the hours." The reports were almost done. He said nothing at first, just looked at her in a way that made her uncomfortable. Not critical, not impatient, thoughtful. "How long have you been working like this?" he finally asked. Lena hesitated. The truth felt dangerous. "I'm fine," she replied, the answer she had practiced for years. Mr. Harrington sighed quietly. "The doctor says you collapsed because you weren't fine." Silence settled between them. For the first time since she joined the company, Lena felt seen, and it terrified her. If she admitted weakness, would she lose her job? Would she be replaced by someone younger, louder, stronger? "I didn't want to be a problem," she whispered. Something shifted in his expression then. He pulled a chair closer and sat down, not as a boss towering over an employee, but as a man listening to another human being. "You're not a problem," he said. "But I failed to notice one." Over the next few days, Lena stayed in the hospital, her phone buzzing constantly with messages from coworkers who admitted, some shyly, some guiltily, that they relied on her more than they realized. She read them with mixed emotions. Gratitude, yes, but also a quiet sadness. They had noticed her work only when it stopped. When she returned home, she expected pressure to come back quickly. Instead, she received an email from Mr. Harrington himself, instructing her to take paid medical leave for as long as she needed. She stared at the screen, convinced it was a mistake. During her time off, Lena did something she hadn't done in years: she rested. Real rest. She slept without alarms, ate meals slowly, walked outside and felt the sun on her face. At first, guilt followed her everywhere. Then, gradually, it loosened its grip. Back at the office, things were changing too. Mr. Harrington had begun asking uncomfortable questions. Why were certain employees consistently overloaded? Why did some people always stay late while others left on time? Why was productivity measured without regard for human cost? The answers unsettled him. He saw patterns he'd ignored for years. Lena was not the exception. She was the extreme example. When Lena finally returned to work, nervous and unsure, the atmosphere felt different. Her desk had been moved closer to the window. Her workload had been redistributed. But the biggest surprise came during a team meeting. Mr. Harrington stood at the front of the room, hands resting on the table, eyes scanning the faces of his staff. "I want to talk about something we don't talk about enough," he said. Burnout. Silence. The cost of pretending everything is fine. People shifted in their seats. He took a breath. "One of our most dedicated employees collapsed because we didn't listen, because I didn't listen. That stops now." Then he did something no one expected. He turned to Lena. "I owe you an apology," he said, clearly, firmly. "Your work has held this department together more times than I knew. You should never have had to carry that alone." The room was utterly silent. Lena's hands trembled. She wanted to disappear. She also wanted to cry. "And this," he continued, "is why I'm promoting Lena to lead analyst. Not just for her skills, but because she understands responsibility, and now, we will understand responsibility to her." Tears blurred Lena's vision. She stood slowly, heart pounding, unsure what to say. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft but steady. "I didn't work hard because I wanted recognition," she said. "I worked hard because I cared. But caring shouldn't mean destroying yourself." Heads nodded. Some eyes glistened. From that day on, Lena worked differently. She still cared deeply, still gave her best, but she spoke up. She took breaks. She learned that strength wasn't silence, and dedication didn't require suffering. Mr. Harrington changed too. He listened more. He asked questions. He learned that leadership wasn't about pushing people until they broke, but protecting them so they could grow. Months later, as Lena walked through the office, sunlight spilling across the floor, she passed the spot where she had once collapsed. She paused for a moment, then kept going, shoulders back, breathing freely. Her story became a quiet lesson whispered through the company halls, that the strongest people are often the quietest, and sometimes it takes a fall to finally be heard. And when Lena sat at her desk, looking out the window, she knew one thing with certainty: her silence had once nearly cost her everything. Her voice, finally used, gave her life back.